The galaxy had always been vast, endless, and filled with countless stars. Among these stars, the Varkon Empire once ruled supreme. Their fleets stretched from one end of the galaxy to the other. Planets bowed before them, and alien civilizations trembled at the mere mention of their name. But even the mightiest empires are not eternal. In the core of the Varkon Empire, on the planet Zaral, the Council of Governors gathered in their massive, cold chamber. The walls shimmered with holographic maps of star systems under their control. But the maps were not complete. Lines of communication were broken, trade routes disrupted, and several distant colonies had stopped responding. "Reports from the Outer Rim are disturbing," Governor Tharok said, his deep voice echoing through the hall. "Rebellions rise in multiple systems. Our fleets cannot reach them in time. We may be losing control faster than we can respond." Another governor, Valara, frowned. "We cannot allow the humans to grow. They are insignificant now, yes, but they are clever. If we ignore them, they may rise where we least expect it." The mention of humans caused a ripple of whispers. Humans, small, fragile, and scattered across the edge of the galaxy. No one had taken them seriously. The Varkons believed humans would remain backward and weak, unable to challenge the Empire. That assumption would soon prove fatal. Far from the center of the galaxy, on the small planet Arendor, humans lived quietly. Their cities were modest, built to survive, not to impress. Life was simple but hard. Every human learned to adapt. They farmed, mined, and studied the stars. They learned that survival required not strength alone, but intelligence, courage, and cooperation. Among them was Captain Lena Rayner, commander of the Arendor Defense Fleet. She walked through the bustling spaceport, observing ships of every shape and size. Human engineers were busy making improvements to their vessels, not for war, but for survival and trade. Yet Lena knew humans had potential far beyond anyone's imagination. "Our scanners picked up Varkon activity near the Outer Rim," her lieutenant said. "A scout fleet. They might be coming closer." Lena nodded, her mind already calculating possibilities. "Good," she said. "Let's see how clever the Empire really thinks we are." The Varkon scout fleet approached Arendor, shining like a silver storm against the blackness of space. Their massive ships blocked out stars as they moved in formation. On board, Varkon officers were confident. "Prepare to board the planet," Commander Thalor said. "These humans are primitive. It will be an easy inspection." But humans were not as weak as the Varkons believed. The moment the fleet entered orbit, Lena's fleet intercepted. Not in open attack, but in stealth and cunning. Human ships were smaller, faster, and harder to track. They darted between asteroids, using gravity and debris to hide from the Varkons' sensors. Within hours, the humans had disabled several supply ships without any casualties. They did not attack the Varkons directly. They used tactics, not force. Lena smiled as she watched the Varkons scramble, confused by the humans' strategy. Meanwhile, on the planet's surface, scientists worked quietly. They had developed technology that could confuse sensors, repair ships in record time, and predict enemy movements. Every discovery, every improvement, was a step toward ensuring humans would survive and thrive. Dr. Kieran Holt, one of the leading engineers, explained to Lena, "We can hijack their communication systems. If we manipulate their data, they will believe they are winning while we prepare for the real battle." Lena nodded. "Do it. We must learn everything we can about them. One day their weakness will be our strength." As the night passed, the humans' clever maneuvers continued. The Varkons, frustrated and unaware, sent more ships into the orbital trap. Each time they underestimated human creativity. Small attack ships would disable a large cruiser's engines. Tiny drones would infiltrate and gather intelligence. Humans worked as a team, adapting faster than the Empire could anticipate. By dawn, the Varkon fleet was in disarray. Supplies were lost, communications were hacked, and several ships had retreated. The humans did not celebrate. They knew this was only the beginning. They had tested the Empire, learned their weaknesses, and survived. That alone was a victory. Back on Zeril, Governor Tharok's chamber buzzed with tension. "What happened?" he demanded. "Our scouts reported minimal resistance, yet most of the fleet is disabled. How?" Valara's eyes narrowed. "The humans. They are more dangerous than we believed. We may have underestimated them." The room fell silent. The council realized for the first time that humans were not as weak as they seemed. Their intelligence, cooperation, and adaptability were weapons the Varkons could not measure. Across human colonies, news of the encounter spread quickly. Humans on distant worlds began preparing. Ships were repaired, strategies were studied, and fleets quietly moved to better positions. Each colony contributed in its own way. Scientists, pilots, strategists, and citizens all worked toward a common goal: survival and eventual ascendance. Even among other alien races who had suffered under the Varkon Empire, humans began to inspire hope. They were small, yes, but fearless. They were weak, but clever. They were underestimated, but determined. Captain Lena stood on the observation deck of her flagship, watching the stars. "The galaxy doesn't know it yet," she said quietly. "But we are ready. We will rise. And when we do, nothing, not even the Empire, can resist humanity's will." Her words were not boastful. They were a promise. Across countless planets, humans shared that promise. They trained, planned, and adapted. They knew that raw strength alone would not win wars. Strategy, intelligence, and unity would. Weeks later, the humans executed their first major operation. Using hijacked Varkon ships and their own fleet, they targeted a small but critical supply hub on a distant world. It was a swift and precise strike. Humans took control without a single life lost on their side. The operation proved that humans could outthink and outmaneuver the Varkons at every step. In the Varkon Command Center, alarms blared. Commander Thalor could not believe what he was seeing. "This cannot be happening," he said. "Humans, how?" Governor Tharok sighed. "They are learning, and they are adapting faster than we ever imagined. This is only the beginning." The stage was set. The Empire was not invincible. Human colonies, once overlooked and dismissed, were quietly preparing to change the balance of power. Each small victory, each clever maneuver, was a step toward something far greater. For the first time in generations, humans felt the stirrings of hope and ambition, not just to survive, but to rise, to challenge the galaxy, and to claim a place among the stars. As the suns set on Arendor, Captain Lena looked at the horizon. Her fleet was ready, her people were united, and her mind was full of plans. The galaxy had dismissed humanity as weak. That mistake would be remembered forever, because humanity did not wait for power to be given. They would take it with intelligence, courage, and determination. And the rise of humanity had only just begun. The galaxy was changing. The Varkon Empire, once feared across countless star systems, was beginning to crumble. Its fleets, once a symbol of unstoppable power, now scrambled in confusion. Reports of small human victories reached the council on Zeril, leaving governors anxious and uneasy. "They are more organized than we believed," Governor Valara said, pacing before the holographic map. "They move like a single force, even though their colonies are scattered across the outer rim. How is this possible?" Governor Tharok shook his head. "They are small, yes, but intelligent. They do not rely on brute force. They think, they plan, and they adapt. That is dangerous." Meanwhile, far from the central systems, human colonies were quietly preparing for the next stage of their rise. Captain Lena Rayner's fleet had returned from Arendor's orbital operations with new knowledge. Every encounter with the Varkons taught humans more about their enemies, how their ships moved, how their tactics worked, and, most importantly, how to outsmart them. On Arendor, the fleet gathered in a hidden asteroid belt, a natural fortress against enemy surveillance. Lena walked among the pilots and engineers, observing the work in silence. Ships were being repaired, reinforced, and improved. Every crew member had a role, every person a purpose. Lieutenant Maris approached her. "Captain, scouts report multiple Varkon patrols moving closer to our borders. They are curious or perhaps suspicious. Either way, they are vulnerable if we act carefully." Lena nodded. "Good. Prepare our best teams for a reconnaissance mission. We need to know their movements, but we will not engage unless it benefits us. Remember, we strike smart, not reckless." Her officers knew Lena's strategy well. Humans did not fight like other species. They relied on adaptability, cooperation, and creativity. Even the smallest advantage could be magnified into victory. Meanwhile, in the shadow of the galaxy, humans executed their first coordinated offensive. Across multiple star systems, small fleets appeared suddenly, striking supply depots, communication hubs, and lightly defended outposts. The Varkons were caught off guard at every turn. On the planet Tyraxis, a small human strike team infiltrated a Varkon supply base. Using stealth suits and silent ships, they disabled defense systems, captured key data, and left without a single casualty. The Varkons did not even know they had been attacked until it was too late. "Impressive," said Dr. Kieran Holt, who monitored the operation from Arendor. "They are fast, efficient, and intelligent. Every move is calculated. This is not just survival. They are learning how to dominate." Lena smiled. "This is just the beginning. Every small success teaches us more. The Empire is underestimating us, and that is our greatest weapon." The humans' rise did not go unnoticed by other alien species. Many had suffered under the Varkons' harsh rule for generations. Slavery, oppression, and fear were common experiences for them. When news of human victories spread, it sparked hope. A small delegation of the Solari, a reptilian species from the star system Veloon, approached Lena in secret. "Humans," their leader said, "we have watched your courage. The Empire fears you. Perhaps together we can resist them more effectively." Lena considered this carefully. Humans had always valued independence, but alliances could be powerful. "We are willing to cooperate," she said, "but understand this. We do not fight for glory. We fight for survival, for freedom, and for justice. Any alliance must respect that." The Solari nodded, impressed by humanity's confidence. "We understand. Then we join you." This marked the first time humans officially formed alliances with other species. The galaxy was beginning to see that humans were not weak, not insignificant, but rising in influence and power. Back in the Varkon command, panic spread. Reports of human attacks multiplied daily. Supply lines were disrupted, fleets were ambushed, and their communication systems were compromised. Governors on Zarel debated how to respond. "They are growing too fast," Vilara said. "We cannot contain them with scattered fleets. We need a decisive strike." Tharok shook his head. "A strike will only show them how vulnerable we are. They are clever. They anticipate our moves. We cannot fight them as we did other species." The Varkons were learning a harsh truth. Humans did not fight like anyone else. Humans used intelligence, cunning, and unpredictability, and worst of all, they adapted. Every failed Varkon tactic was a lesson humans absorbed and improved upon. Meanwhile, human engineers continued to innovate. Dr. Holt introduced a new technology, adaptive drones capable of repairing ships mid-battle, collecting data, and even performing sabotage. Pilots trained to use these drones as extensions of themselves, turning small teams into forces far greater than their numbers. Lena observed a test flight. A squadron of small ships darted through a simulated asteroid field, each guided by a combination of pilot skill and drone intelligence. The ships evaded attacks, responded to unexpected threats, and completed their objectives flawlessly. "This is the future of warfare," Lena said. "Strength alone does not win battles. Strategy, adaptability, and cooperation do." The next major operation came soon after. The humans targeted a vital Varkon fuel depot on the planet Mavros. The depot was heavily guarded, but humans used a combination of stealth, misdirection, and surprise. Small human ships flew through asteroid belts to avoid detection, while drones infiltrated the depot's defenses. Alarm sounded too late. The humans had already completed their mission, destroyed key fuel reserves, and retreated without leaving a trace. Commander Thalor, aboard a Varkon cruiser near Mavros, could not believe it. "How can they strike so accurately, so quickly, and vanish without a fight?" Valara's voice came over the communication. "They are not just survivors. They are intelligent. They learn. Every mistake we make, they study and use against us. We underestimated them, and now we are paying the price." Humanity's reputation spread across the galaxy. News of their victories, clever tactics, and resilience reached other oppressed species. Many secretly sent scouts, supplies, and intelligence to human colonies. A quiet network of support began to form, linking humans and alien allies in ways the Varkons could not detect. On Arendor, Lena met with representatives from the Solari and several smaller species. Together, they planned the next phase, not just small strikes, but coordinated campaigns across multiple systems. The goal was clear: weaken the Empire, inspire allies, and prepare for the day humans could rise openly. "Our strength is not just our fleet," Lena told the group. "It is our intelligence, our creativity, our ability to adapt. Every system we liberate, every victory we achieve, shows the galaxy that humans are not weak. They are rising." The group nodded in agreement. For the first time, they felt that humans were not just another species. Humans were a symbol of hope, courage, and change. The Varkons tried to respond. Fleets were dispatched to hunt human ships, patrol systems, and reinforce vulnerable depots. But every move was anticipated. Humans had learned the Empire's habits, routines, and weaknesses. They turned each Varkon advance into an opportunity. On one occasion, a Varkon fleet attempted to trap a human convoy near the asteroid belt of Seraphis. Humans split their forces, luring the Varkons into a narrow passage filled with gravitational anomalies. Small human ships darted in and out, using the terrain to disable several cruisers before slipping away. Commander Thalor watched helplessly as his fleet suffered losses. "They are everywhere," he muttered. "And yet they are so small. How can this be?" It was simple. Humans were not the strongest. They were not the biggest. But they were clever, united, and relentless. Every setback taught them something new. Every victory inspired more courage. Back on Arendor, Lena stood on the observation deck of her flagship. Stars stretched endlessly before her, but she saw more than light and darkness. She saw opportunity, strategy, and destiny. "Every small victory matters," she said to Dr. Holt beside her. "Every system we liberate, every ally we inspire, brings us closer to a galaxy where humans are no longer ignored. They think we are weak, but they are wrong. We are rising." Dr. Holt smiled. "And the galaxy will notice soon enough." Lena nodded. "Yes. And when they do, nothing will be able to stop humanity." The rise from the shadows had begun. Humans, once overlooked and underestimated, were now the spark of change. Across distant systems, alien species began to whisper of hope. Varkon fleets hesitated, unsure of how to respond. And in every human colony, citizens worked tirelessly. knowing that their survival and future depended on intelligence, courage, and unity. For the first time, humans realized something profound. They were not just survivors. They were a force that could challenge the strongest empire in the galaxy, and the galaxy itself would soon remember the name of humanity. The empire was no longer unshakable. The humans were rising, and the future was theirs to claim. The galaxy had begun to whisper a new name: humanity. From the outer rim to the edges of known space, small fleets of human ships moved with precision, striking at key supply depots, communication centers, and patrols of the Varkon Empire. Every move was calculated, every strike a lesson learned from previous encounters. But the time for small strikes had ended. Humanity had grown bold. They had allies, intelligence, and technology captured from the Varkons themselves. Now, they would move toward the Empire's heart, the core worlds of Zaryl and surrounding systems. Captain Lena Rayner stood on the deck of her flagship, the Aegis. Around her, officers prepared detailed reports and strategies for the upcoming campaign. "We will not rush blindly," Lena said. "The Empire is powerful, but it is blind to what humans can do. Our strength lies in intelligence, unity, and precision. Every strike must be planned, every decision calculated." Lieutenant Maris approached her with a digital map of the central systems. "The Varkon fleet is concentrated near the inner core. They assume we will avoid them. But if we act smart, we can divide their forces, isolate their fleets, and strike their planets directly." Lena nodded. "Good. Begin coordinating with our allies. Every system we liberate will join our cause, weakening the Empire from within." On the planet Tyraxis, the Solari and other allied species prepared their fleets alongside humans. The air was filled with anticipation, but also respect. Humans were not commanding with arrogance. They were leading with strategy and vision. The Allied commanders had learned to trust human planning. "This is the moment we show the Empire that numbers alone do not win wars," Lena said. "It is courage, creativity, and cooperation that matter. Today, we strike not just to survive, but to change the galaxy." The Allied fleets moved through hidden warp routes, carefully avoiding detection. Each small human fleet acted as both a decoy and an attack force. Human tactics had evolved. They no longer relied on brute force or stealth alone, but combined both with psychological strategies to confuse and demoralize the enemy. The first major engagement occurred near the Varkon planet Korath, a heavily defended world in the outer core. Human scouts had identified weak points in orbital defenses. Instead of a direct assault, they executed a complex maneuver. Small human fighters attacked from unexpected angles, drawing Varkon ships away from critical installations. Meanwhile, larger ships moved behind asteroid fields, striking key orbital platforms and disabling shields. Adaptive drones repaired human ships instantly, allowing them to outlast Varkon attacks. Inside the Varkon command ship Oblivion, Commander Thalor watched in disbelief. "They cannot be this organized. They are small, but their tactics are perfect." Valara, observing the same battle through a holographic feed, whispered, "They learn faster than any species we have faced. They think 3 steps ahead, and they adapt at every turn. We underestimated them, and it will cost us." By the end of the engagement, Korath's orbital defenses were crippled. Humans had achieved victory with minimal losses, leaving Varkon forces stunned and disoriented. Back on Arendor, Lena coordinated the next steps. "Korath is just the beginning. We will move deeper into the core. Every victory inspires others to rise against the Empire. Every planet we liberate strengthens us." Dr. Kieran Holt had been monitoring Varkon technology captured in earlier raids. "Captain, we can now replicate their shield systems for our fleet. It is not perfect, but it will give us the edge we need against larger forces." Lena's eyes shone with determination. Excellent. Prepare the fleet. The next battle will take us closer to the capital. The Empire must see that humans cannot be ignored. The Varkon leadership was in panic. Governors on Zarel debated their next move, but indecision ruled. Some wanted to strike quickly at the humans, while others feared that rash action would expose the Empire's vulnerabilities further. They are not just a nuisance, Tharok admitted reluctantly. They are a force we cannot predict. Every attempt to trap them fails. Every system we think we control falls into chaos. Valara's voice was sharp. We cannot ignore them. We must deploy the full fleet. Every cruiser, every station, every weapon must be ready. If we fail now, the Empire may collapse. But the humans had already planned for this. They knew the Varkons would react, and they were ready. On the human side, fleets converged near the planet Soria, a key Varkon world guarding access to Zarel. Humans set a trap, using decoy fleets and hidden warp points. Varkon forces fell into predictable patterns, just as humans had anticipated. Lena's flagship led the operation. Small strike teams attacked from multiple directions, while larger ships disabled key orbital platforms. Drones repaired damage in real time, allowing human forces to adapt instantly to Varkon counterattacks. By the end of the battle, the Varkons suffered a massive defeat. Ships were destroyed, supply lines cut, and morale shattered. Humanity's reputation spread further, inspiring oppressed species to rise in rebellion across the galaxy. Even as victories accumulated, humans did not grow complacent. Every battle was studied, every loss analyzed, every new technology tested. On Arendor, engineers worked tirelessly, creating better ships, faster drones, and improved weapons. Every colony contributed to the effort, ensuring humanity's rise was not limited to one planet or fleet. Allied species strengthened human operations. Solari engineers improved human ships with their knowledge of advanced energy systems. Smaller species provided intelligence, sabotage teams, and specialized technology. Humanity was no longer isolated. They were at the center of a growing coalition. The Varkon Empire, desperate, decided to bring its entire central fleet against the humans. They concentrated forces near the planet Lareth, intending to crush the human-led coalition in one decisive battle. But Lena and her officers anticipated this. They will strike with all their might, she said. We must use their arrogance against them. Every attack will be turned into an opportunity. The stronger they come, the greater our advantage. The battle began with overwhelming Varkon numbers. Cruisers and fighters filled the sky, yet humans, smaller in number, moved with speed, coordination, and intelligence. Adaptive drones repaired damaged vessels. Pilots used the terrain of asteroid fields and gas clouds to evade attacks. Humans turned the Varkon aggression into chaos for the Empire's forces. Allied species fought alongside humans, adding strength, experience, and firepower. Together, they were more than a fleet. They were a force of innovation and strategy. Hours passed. The Varkon fleet, confident at the start, now faltered. Ships collided, commands were ignored, and communication failed. The human-led coalition pressed the advantage. Small, precise attacks crippled the enemy's largest ships, leaving the Varkons confused and demoralized. Inside the command center of the Varkon fleet, Thalor shouted orders that went unheeded. Fire at will, target the humans, do not let them escape. It was too late. Humans had already predicted the moves, and every maneuver was countered. By the end of the day, the Varkon fleet was shattered. Humanity's coalition had achieved a decisive victory that would be remembered across the galaxy. On Arendor, celebrations were quiet, but heartfelt. Humans had proven something important. They were not just survivors or clever raiders. They could challenge even the greatest empire in the galaxy. Lena addressed her fleet and allies. Today, we showed the galaxy what humans are capable of, not through arrogance, not through brute force, but through intelligence, courage, and unity. The Empire underestimated us. That was their greatest mistake." Her words echoed across fleets and colonies. Humans were no longer small, overlooked, or dismissed. They were leaders, innovators, and symbols of hope. Back on Zaryl, the council met in emergency. Governors were in shock. "How can this be?" Valara asked. "Their fleets are small, their numbers insignificant, and yet they strike like masters." Tharok sighed. "Humans are different. They think, adapt, and lead. Every time we assume we understand them, they surprise us. The galaxy is changing, and if we do not act carefully, the Empire may fall entirely." The fear of the humans had grown so much that even the Varkon's allies and subjugated species began to see hope. Rebellions that had been suppressed for generations began anew. Humanity's rise inspired action across star systems. Captain Lena, on her flagship, looked at the stars. "This is only the beginning," she said quietly. "The Empire is powerful, yes, but no force can resist human ingenuity when we are united. The core worlds are next, and when they fall, the galaxy will see what humans truly are." Dr. Holt, standing beside her, smiled. "We have done what many thought impossible. But I agree, this is just the start. The Varkons are strong, but they cannot match the will, intelligence, and courage of humanity." Lena nodded. "And soon, they will understand that fully." The humans were no longer in the shadows. They had risen, and their rise was unstoppable. The galaxy was beginning to change, and the Varkon Empire was now forced to recognize the impossible truth. Humans were not weak, not insignificant, and not to be underestimated. The fall of the giants had begun. Humanity had proven that courage, intelligence, and unity could triumph over the mightiest of powers, and the galaxy would remember this day, the day humanity showed that nothing could resist their rise. The galaxy was in chaos. The Varkon Empire, once feared across countless star systems, was crumbling under the relentless rise of humanity. Small strikes had grown into major campaigns, clever tactics had become coordinated invasions, and the Empire, despite its vast fleets and ancient power, could no longer ignore the humans. Captain Lena Rayner stood on the deck of the Aegis, the flagship of the human coalition. Around her, allied species worked together seamlessly. Silari engineers fine-tuned energy shields on human ships. Pilots from Arendor coordinated attacks with scouts from distant worlds. Humans, once isolated and weak, were now the heart of a galaxy-wide movement. "This is it," Lena said quietly to Dr. Kieran Holt, who monitored fleet communications. "We strike at the core. Zaryl will fall, and with it, the Empire's control over the galaxy." Dr. Holt nodded. "All our forces are ready. Our allies trust us. The Varkons have no idea what is coming." The humans' approach to Zaryl was not reckless. Every move was calculated. Scouts had mapped out patrol routes, defense grids, and fleet positions. Humans divided their forces into multiple groups, each with a specific mission, some to engage the enemy, some to disable defenses, and some to strike directly at the capital's control centers. Lieutenant Maris pointed at a holographic map. "Captain, the Empire has concentrated most of its fleet around the inner core. If we engage directly, we face overwhelming numbers." Lena smiled. "Exactly why we do not engage directly. We will divide them, isolate key forces, and strike where they least expect it. Their arrogance will be their downfall." The first stage of the operation began near the planet Valor, a key hub for Varkon supplies and communications. Small human strike teams infiltrated the planet, using stealth ships and adaptive drones to avoid detection. They disabled communication satellites and supply depots, leaving the planet in chaos. At the same time, human fleets attacked Valor's orbital defenses. Drones repaired damaged ships mid-battle, allowing humans to outlast larger Varkon forces. The planet fell within hours, and the humans moved quickly to secure resources and prepare for the next strike. News of Valor's fall spread across the galaxy. The Varkons, already weakened by previous human campaigns, were shocked. Governors on Zaryl debated desperate strategies. "We must destroy them before they reach the capital," Tharok shouted. Valara shook her head. "Every attempt fails. They are not just strong, they are clever. Every battle we fight, we teach them, and they adapt. We cannot win by brute force alone. The humans are something different," and she was right. Humans did not fight like other species. They studied, they learned, they adapted, and they planned. Every failure by the Varkons became an advantage for humanity. The next stage of the campaign was critical: Zaryl's orbital defenses. The humans had prepared a complex strategy. Small decoy fleets attacked from multiple angles, drawing Varkon ships away from the main defensive stations. Meanwhile, human capital ships moved through hidden warp points, striking key platforms directly. The battle was intense. Varkon ships fired relentlessly, but humans were faster, smarter, and more coordinated. Adaptive drones repaired damage instantly, while pilots used asteroid fields and debris to evade enemy fire. The Empire's strongest cruisers fell to precise strikes. On board the Varkon command ship Oblivion, Commander Thalor watched in disbelief. "They cannot be doing this. They are small, insignificant, and yet they are destroying us." With orbital defenses crippled, Lena led her fleet directly to Zaryl's surface. Humans and their allies moved like a single organism. Allied species attacked supply lines and military outposts, while human forces disabled power grids and shield generators. Every action was calculated. Civilians on the planet were protected as much as possible, showing humanity's leadership was not just about conquest. It was about responsibility. This won the trust of populations across the galaxy, further weakening Varkon control. Inside the capital, governors panicked. Reports of collapsing defenses, rebel uprisings, and advancing human fleets filled the chamber. "How can this be?" Tharok demanded. "Our empire is vast, our fleets are powerful, and yet, humanity, how can they rise so quickly?" Valara, her voice trembling with anger and fear, said, "They are not like the other species we ruled. They are extraordinary. They learn, they adapt, they unite. We underestimated them, and now we pay the price." The final battle began with coordinated strikes across Zaryl. Humans used every tactic at their disposal: feints, ambushes, adaptive drones, and alliances with oppressed species within the capital. The Varkon forces fought valiantly, but their strategy was rigid, predictable, and failing. Lena's flagship moved into the heart of the conflict. Using advanced navigation and stealth technology, it struck directly at the command centers, disabling the Empire's communication and coordination. Without leadership, Varkon fleets became confused, making them easy targets for human attacks. Hours passed. By the end of the day, the Varkon Empire's central command was crippled. Ships surrendered, outposts fell, and governors had no choice but to flee or face capture. Humanity had achieved what many thought impossible: the fall of the greatest power in the galaxy. Humanity did not stop with the victory. Instead of seeking domination through fear, they offered alliances, protection, and cooperation to former subjects of the Empire. Alien species who had suffered under Varkon rule were now partners, contributing to rebuilding and governance. Captain Lena addressed representatives from multiple worlds. "We did not rise to rule through fear," she said. "We rose to survive, to protect, and to inspire. Together we can create a galaxy where intelligence, courage, and unity are stronger than tyranny and oppression." The representatives nodded. They had seen humans fight not only with courage but with strategy and honor. They knew that humanity's rise was different. It was not conquest for power, but ascendance for progress. Meanwhile, remnants of the Varkon leadership attempted a final desperate attack, but it failed. Human fleets, now experienced, coordinated, and supported by allies, crushed the last resistance. The Empire's strongest ships were destroyed, and the galaxy's populations finally breathed freely. Humans had not just survived, they had risen. They had turned weakness into strength, isolation into unity, and underestimation into triumph. Across the stars, humans were no longer the small, fragile species the Varkons once dismissed. They were leaders, innovators, and protectors of a new era. On Arendor, Lena looked at the stars once more. Ships from countless systems returned victorious. Planets liberated from the Varkons celebrated their new freedom. Allies, once oppressed and cautious, now stood openly alongside humanity. Dr. Holt joined her. "Captain, look at what we've accomplished. We have changed the galaxy forever." Lena nodded. "Yes, but this is just the beginning. We have won battles, liberated planets, and proven that humans can rise against impossible odds. But our duty now is to build, to explore, and to ensure this galaxy thrives." Humanity's rise became legendary. Stories of their courage, intelligence, and unity spread across the stars. They were remembered not for violence, but for ingenuity, compassion, and determination. The galaxy had learned a lesson: never underestimate humans. The Varkon Empire was gone, but its fall had left a galaxy ready for change. Humanity, now Ascendant, did not impose tyranny. They encouraged cooperation, science, and exploration. They forged alliances, rebuilt systems, and inspired countless species to rise above fear and oppression. In the quiet moments after victory, Lena stood on the observation deck of her flagship. She watched stars stretch endlessly across space, thinking of the future. "We have survived," she said softly. "We have risen. And now, we will shape the galaxy for the better." Dr. Holt placed a hand on her shoulder. "They will remember this day, Captain. Humans have proven that courage, intelligence, and unity are forces stronger than any empire." Lena smiled. "And one day, every species in this galaxy will know that humanity's rise was inevitable. Not because we sought power, but because we never gave up, we never stopped learning, and we never stopped fighting for what is right." The galaxy was at peace, but it was also alive with potential. Human colonies expanded, exploration missions reached new star systems, and allies built a network of knowledge, science, and culture. Humanity had ascended not by conquering others, but by demonstrating that cleverness, cooperation, and courage could overcome even the greatest power. The stars shone brighter that night, and humanity stood among them, no longer weak, no longer overlooked. They had proven that nothing could resist their rise. The galaxy would never forget the day humans became ascendant.